I love talking about my different fandoms and favorite video games and movies and TV shows as much as the next person, but there are things happening right now in our country that need to be talked about. It's political, it's not good news. It's things that are uncomfortable to talk about, but that need to be talked about and need to be brought attention to. People need to know and stay informed of what is going on. Below in my video description, there is an ever-growing list of people, social media accounts, organizations, and websites that are standing up to the hatred and violence we are seeing by our quote-unquote President Trump. Check out any of the links and social media accounts that I have at the bottom of my description to stay informed and to find out how you can help fight back. Just like Captain America said that it doesn't matter what the mobs or the politicians tells you. It doesn't matter if so many of them is saying something wrong is something right. And if they come to you saying that, telling you to move, it is your job to stand there and plant yourself beside the river of truth and say, no, you move. Hatred and ignorance and fear is not what makes our country great.
Hey geeks and gamers, what's up? I'm Trey Guillotine, and today I am enthusiastically geeky about my top 3 favorite new TV shows of 2019. But before I start talking about that, I got one question for you. What are you gaming on? If you want your answer to be featured in an upcoming video and segment of What You Gaming On, let me know the game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and tell me that in the comments of this video or any of my other videos or social media, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming video. We're going to go ahead and jump into what I've been gaming on, and it should be no surprise because I'm pretty much doing what every other gamer out there is doing, and I am jumping back into The Witcher 3 since the new Witcher series just came out on Netflix. Everyone's kind of, if you've already had the Witcher bug and you really just you already loved The Witcher 3 or just the Witcher trilogy in general, you're probably jumping back in. And then there's also a lot of new fans who saw the Netflix series and then are like, oh my god, this is great, I want more. So they jump into The Witcher 3 or the Witcher trilogy. Witcher 3, I have played that game to death, and I'm just so excited that so many other people are getting into The Witcher now, because before, my friends didn't really play it. They never read the books. They never played any of the games. They didn't really know a lot about it. But when I played it, I know I've talked about this before, but I have nothing but good things to say about The Witcher 3 and CD Projekt Red in general. When The Witcher 3 came out, I had a bunch of coupons that were about to expire, so I pretty much just walked around the game store and was like, okay, with my coupons I'll get this whatever game, Witcher 3, for more than half off. So it ended up only being $25 over it being full price $60. Got it on a whim, played it, and I got obsessed. I started looking up all of the lore. I started looking up all of the books and the videos and all of the stuff about it. I read all of the books. Replaying it now, especially now that I'm playing on a New Game Plus, where that's the other thing I'm actually kind of annoyed by, because I was looking forward to playing it on a New Game Plus, because then I could use the items that I made in my original playthrough, like all of my mastercrafted Witcher gear. I could use that in the New Game Plus, except every armor and weapon I find are leaps and bounds better than the armor I already have. So I don't really get to. I don't know. I think I'm going to test the theory of if I wear the armor that I want to and get into combat, will it really make that big of a difference? I'm thinking that it will, but I want to wear my good stuff. I worked to make it. I worked my ass off to make that gear. I want to use it. But we'll see how that goes. But if you haven't played The Witcher 3 or you want to jump into it because you just saw the Netflix series, go ahead, jump into it. It's a great game. If there's anything out of context that you don't understand in the game, I think it does a really good job of telling you the facts that you need to know about The Witcher 3 to really understand what's going on. I think it does a good job of that. You may not. If you have any questions, please talk to me, because I love talking about The Witcher. I have nothing but good things to say. At least about the video game series and CD Projekt Red. That is what I I have been gaming on. Now I want to hear from you. So if you want to tell me what you've been gaming on, tell me the name of the game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming video. Now, talking about The Witcher and the new Netflix series, that actually kind of segues in. See what I did there? Segues into my top 3 new TV shows of 2019. And no, The Witcher is not one of them. I love the Witcher series. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was great. I loved it. It definitely was a good series, but it wasn't one of the best. It's maybe in the top 5, maybe in the top 5, but definitely not the top 3. The top 3 I have, and this is in, no, we're going to jump into this. There's no particular order. This is first, second, third. I'm just naming the top 3 that I think were the best new shows of 2019. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Umbrella Academy. It's fantastic. It really is. And I remember what about that show just made me love it so much. And the characters are probably it. Like, it's very much a superhero show, and I know superhero fatigue is a thing, and people are, claiming their chronic illness of superhero fatigue and trying to get, medical attention for it. And, I'm not trying to minimize your suffering of superhero fatigue, but I still love the superhero stuff. But as a superhero show, Umbrella Academy, it's not as much superhero as it is a family dramedy. The story itself focuses on the 7 siblings and how they interact with each other, and their chemistry is amazing. Like, whenever they're doing their own thing and they're having their own adventure or encounter away from the rest of their siblings, like, it's very clear that this could be their show. Like, all of the stuff that is happening is their own little spin-off of the greater show with the rest of their siblings. They're on their own little adventure, but then when they come together, it changes. They literally change, like you do when you get around family members. Like, you can be away from your sibling for so long, and then you get back into the same proximity because of a family event or a dinner or whatever, and you kind of revert back to that sibling rivalry kind of stage of your life. And they do that really well. Like, it's so easy to see these adults. It's so easy to imagine how they would have been when they were kids. And you do get like a bunch of scenes where you do see them as kids, but the most of the story is when they're adults. It's easy to see that, like, these people grew up together, like their flaws and strengths and all of their fleshed out characters play off each other so well, and it's so entertaining to see. The other amazing thing about this show is the soundtrack. Whoever chose this soundtrack, whoever picked the songs to go over a lot of the fight scenes, a lot of the big moments, that person needs a raise or a promotion or something, because they just had the greatest taste in music. Now, admittedly, it's mostly like classic rock in the 80s and some 90s mixed in there, but it's so good. The songs they chose for it are so good. They even went the Shaun of the Dead route and used Queen's Gonna Have a Good Time. I'm not sure if that's the actual title of the song, but you know what song I'm talking about, where they put that song over this really intense fight scene. And it's stuff like that where they somehow find the perfect song that fits whatever the situation is that's going on. So, like I said, the chemistry of the characters in the show and the music, it's mind-blowing. The next show I'm going to talk about is The Mandalorian, which, yeah, this is kind of a late show that came in 2019, that I don't think we were expecting it to be as good as it is. And we're all divided on the new trilogy about how we feel about Rise of Skywalker or The Last Jedi. We're all very divided and very catty about it with each other, but I think we all can agree that The Mandalorian is one of the best titles to come out of Star Wars, and it's from Jon Favreau. And I was talking with Gopher Bowl about this the other day, and we were just talking about how funny it is how the guy that did Swingers and is basically with like basically him and Vince Vaughn are like the formerly less successful version of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, except for now where Jon Favreau is just killing it. Like the MCU, like what he's given to the MCU, not only like directing Iron Man and being in other films and being producers on other films in the MCU, it was his idea. The MCU was his idea when he was back on Daredevil with Ben Affleck. He talked to Marvel when he was playing Foggy Nelson. He talked to Marvel and kind of started rolling with this idea of an interconnected Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, like, he's amazing. He really is. He's a talented actor. He's a talented producer. He's a talented director. And he gave us The Mandalorian, which it's so good in such a simple way. It's a very simple Western TV show. It's a sci-fi Western. It really is. Like, yes, Star Wars is kind of like, it definitely surrounds a lot of the stuff that Star Wars is involved in. Like, there's the Force, there's Jedi, there's the Empire and the Resistance and the Rebellion and all the things that make Star Wars Star Wars. But The Mandalorian is literally on the fringe of that greater universe and that greater story. And it's just a simple sci-fi Western that happens to take place in the Star Wars universe, but it still pays its respect to the greater lore of Star Wars. And it's such a simple Western. Like, it uses a lot of, I don't want to say Western cliches because they do it really well. So I guess Western tropes. I feel like tropes is like when you're doing something that someone else has done, but you're doing it well, it's a trope, but if it's bad, it's a cliche. They use a lot of Western tropes. Like, the majority of the show is about, it revolves around this rough on the outside gunslinger who now has to take care of a child, and he learns to love along the way. But it has so many other tropes. Like, there's the Prison Break episode. Was there a train job? I don't think there was a train job episode. But there's the Prison Break episode. There's like the one where he's gathering the Magnificent Seven to protect this village from raiders that are coming in to destroy them. And just so many things that we've seen so many times in other Westerns, that the way they do it here, it's elegantly simple. And it doesn't overburden us with unnecessary information. It tells us the things that we need to know and just lets us enjoy the show. Like, as for The Mandalorian, even after the season finale, we still don't know every aspect of his life, and we don't need to. We know who he is. He's the Mandalorian. He's a bounty hunter. He's to protect Baby Yoda, which they also gave us Baby Yoda, which has basically taken the world by storm. And that's all we really need to know. And it's such a good story and such a simply well-made show. Like I said, the idea of the show is very simple, but it's very elegantly simple. And it's honestly it's definitely the best sci-fi Western since Firefly. And I don't necessarily know if it's a better, you know what, I will say it. It's a better sci-fi Western than the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which I definitely consider those to be sci-fi Westerns, not as so as maybe Firefly or The Mandalorian. But yeah, The Mandalorian, it's the best science fiction Western show since Firefly. It's a fantastic show, and it's also about The Mandalorian, so I definitely have a bias because I love The Mandalorians. Ever since Knights of the Old Republic, where I was introduced to this very bloodthirsty, warmongering race, I thought they were so cool. So the fact that we are getting like some lore and some more showtime and things from The Mandalorians, I'm super excited about that. And for the last one, and I was actually surprised by this by the President Barack Obama, he actually posted a list of like his favorite things of the year, like books and movies, and then he did TV shows, and I was looking at it, and most of the stuff he did I hadn't seen, so I can't really comment on it. But one of the ones he did is one I absolutely agree with, is Watchmen. Now, again, this is technically, it's another superhero show, but it's just like Umbrella Academy. It kind of takes that superhero trope and flips it on its head. And it's hard to describe because it was very relevant. It was very real. It didn't focus on the acts of being a superhero. It focused on the history and what make people become the heroes that they become. Does that make sense? I mean, I was already excited for the show because one, it was Watchmen, which is a fantastic novel, and an enjoyable movie. An enjoyable movie. I like the movie, but and it's also Damon Lindelof from Lost, which I'm one of the people that really loved Lost, and I was totally fine with the series finale. We can have that argument some other time. So having Damon Lindelof back doing a TV show about Watchmen, I was already excited, but it wasn't what I was expecting, and that's not a bad thing. It really did catch me by surprise. I mean, it focuses more on, I don't want to say society because that sounds like a cliche, but it focuses what it does is that it takes the lore and the idea of the Watchmen graphic novel and it kind of twists it into the history of racial tensions between black and white individuals just over in the United States. Like the series starts, the first scene starts with the race riots that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, way back when. I don't remember the actual year that it did happen, but that's literally the start of the series, and that event it kind of has everything else orbiting around it, and you see one of the other heroes who he was a child during that, and he grows up and you see why he grew up to be the person he was, and he gets the way he kind of becomes. I don't want to spoil anything because it is still fairly new, so I don't want to spoil anything, but the way that his story and Angela Abar, who's played by Regina King, how their story kind of inserts itself into the Watchmen history is brilliant. Like, it does so many amazing things with African American representation or just people of color representation in this series while still being true to, in my opinion, what Watchmen was. Like, it wasn't a super inspiring story. And I mean, not to say that Angela Abar or even her grandfather, who you learn more about, I'm not saying that what they do and who they are isn't inspiring in a lot of ways, but it's not pretty. It's very tragic. And I mean, that's Watchmen. Like, that's the Watchmen. It's not about being a superhero. It's about Watchmen. Like, the book Watchmen was about what happens after. It's what happens when someone retires from being a superhero and is still trying to not so much live up to their glory days, but take responsibility of their own actions and the actions of their comrades. Whereas this one, it's about becoming the person that you need to be, the person that is going to get you through this world, that's going to protect the people you care about, and doing what it is you need to do. And sometimes those things that you need to do are heartbreaking. I literally wrote a 16-page paper this semester about Watchmen and just all of the amazing things it does, working with a lot of different literary theories. And I'm talking about the show. I mean, yes, I talked about the book, but also just about the show. Just so many amazing things it does with psychology and African American literary theory and representation. It was one of those shows that caught me off guard. I was not expecting. I was literally expecting it to be Watchmen. It was going to be, definitely brutal and a tragic story, but also a lot of action, a lot of, really cool things. But it wasn't. It definitely had its share of action, and not to say that it definitely had a good amount of action, but not as much as I was expecting. And it did. You have to watch it. It's so hard to explain without giving away spoilers, which I don't want to spoil anybody because you just have to watch it yourself. And maybe in a couple more weeks, after most everyone who's going to watch it has watched it, we can talk about spoilers, but it does so many things that are relevant and poignant to today, to modern day 2019, about to be 2020. You have to watch it. It's It's amazing. But now I want to hear from you. What are your top 3 new TV shows of 2019? Let me know in the comments of this video or on any of my social media, as well as what game you're playing, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming video. If you want to check out the rest of my videos or written content, you can check it out on this YouTube channel or go to my website, treyguillotine.blogspot.com. You can also check out any articles I've written for the UNO, the University of New Orleans Driftwood, at unodriftwood.com, or I'll also have links to that on my website. And subscribe to my channel so we can geek out some more. Thanks for watching. Have fun.